What's cracking, ladies and gentlemen? This is Jordan Kurtz with the Comments from the Peanut Gallery podcast. I'm here with my man, Todd DeBato. How you doing, Todd?
Feeling pretty good.
Good?
Feeling pretty good.
Large and in charge, my man. I mean, you got to be like the most big lightweight that I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, man. I mean, definitely ties into bodybuilding. You know, there's a lot that I retained from coming from such a large weight. I was at 220 pounds at one point, you know, and I definitely stayed below 5%. And so coming back down, there just quite a bit of density that, you know, I don't feel like that would just go away so easily.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's contributed quite a bit to the illusion of the size, you know, because my shoulders are bigger than my waist is, but I'm not all that big. You know, when somebody gets a hold of me and like, it's like, oh wow,
you hit the nail on the head right there, bro. Like the illusion, like, and that's a big part of, you know, like
right.
With the bodybuilding world, you know, creating that illusion with your V taper and everything, you know, broad at the clavicle and in the shoulder base and narrow at the waist. Like, bro, if I were to just guess what your weight class was, I would say bare minimum welterweight, if not larger. Just because, I mean, you're tall, you're long, and, you know, being muscled up definitely adds to the illusion of, like, what your true walk around and all around weight is.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say that I use my size as much as I should. You know, it's definitely something that I've been working on here lately with being more aggressive and you know and showing off strength. But it is something that plays a part in the advantage that I have, you know, once things go to the ground or even just in a tie-up. And me being bigger and longer than a person is always just a slight advantage.
Oh, I've felt it. Like in grappling with you, bro. Like you start going with your with your leg game, or then even just the squeeze. Because I feel like because you have such long legs that squeeze alone, like you can just add an extra level to your vice grip, and that's a weapon in itself. Just if someone's ever like in your guard, like you're very much in the advantaged position because you're squeezing the shit out of their abdomen.
Well, yeah, I mean that's always been quite a big thing for me as well. Even in bodybuilding, like a big thing was legs, you know, and prior to bodybuilding, like wrestling, like you're constantly bending your legs, you know, and prior to wrestling, you know, Taekwondo type things, you know, with my cousin, and that's just pretty much all legs. He doesn't even use his hands all that much, and so all I've really known is using my legs to get the better. They're just bigger and stronger, you know. And
well, all of those years have certainly paid their dividends, my friend. Now, Todd, this is your introduction introduction to the world as a Factory X fighter.
Yeah.
How does that feel that you're getting to make your debut at one of the more premier academies in the world?
It's pressure. It's pressure, to be quite honest. You know, I feel more nervous about fighting for the name of Factory X than I do about fighting for the first time in a cage. You know, I'm not even worried about whether my opponent will beat me. What I'm more worried about is whether I'll disappoint my coach, you know, whether I will disappoint my teammates, or whether the training that I've done with all these guys and the time that they spent will just be for waste, you know. And so there's a big motivation behind me is having that X on my chest, you know. That's a huge thing, is making sure that I'm standing up for something. So I got to work hard, you know.
Absolutely, man. But I feel like your time is coming, man. Like we've chatted about this a couple of times. Like you've fully dedicated yourself to this process.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is 100% where I want to be. You know, I can't see myself really doing anything else, not at this point. You know, there was before. I've always had fighting. You know, whether it was backyard brawls, whether it was just me playing around with my best friend who is actually an MMA fighter as well. You know, and he's gonna be having his first fight soon. It's always just been on the side for me, you know, and I've never really realized how much it's had an underlying impact in my life. Like, I've always just wanted, hey, you want to wrestle? You know, I never really thought about it. But now that I'm doing it as a sport, I want to do it for a living, for sure.
Definitely, man. So what does that process look like to you? Like, are you journaling on top of everything else? Like, I mean, because I feel like just from the routine that I see, like, everything, like you have a method for absolutely everything. Or there's not you have your own way of doing things, but everything is purposed.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like anything done without a purpose is purposeless. I mean, as simple as that may sound, it's one of the bigger things to follow. You know, if you just sit there and drill and drill and drill, and you aren't sure what you're drilling, even though you build up the muscle memory, you don't know what the timing is. You know, and so there was no purpose behind that. And once you put just a small bit of intent behind what you want to do, it 80% difference. You know, I won't say 100%. Movement's still going to be the same, but it's something completely different to connect your mind to the world, to yourself, and then take note of it.
Definitely. You know? You do a lot of volume as far as your reps go. Do you think that just all kind of builds upon itself? You know, just that it's almost like the Bruce Lee, like the, you know, practicing that same thing 10,000 times.
I don't know. I end up doing a lot of reps, but I don't intend to. You know, like when I go in thinking about I'm gonna kick this bag, you know, I'm not saying I have to do it a certain amount of times. It's just like, that one didn't feel good. That one didn't feel good. That was all right. That was a good one. And then I try and chase that good one for the next like 20 until I get it again. I'm like, all right, well, I've got like 2. You know, let's try and get the 10 really, really good ones, you know. And it ends up being like hundreds. But at the end of the day, you know, it's just routine.
Definitely. So I want to ask you this, and to peel the layers back, what made you decide that, you know, I mean, you talked about wrestling, you talked about bodybuilding, having, you know, just a competitive mindset, but what then, I guess, led you into the thought that I actually want to fight instead of just being, because I mean, you've had a lot of success as just a grappler. Right.
Well, I think I just wanted to take it to the next level.
Okay.
I mean, I was doing really, really well in jiu-jitsu. You know, I actually started to gain quite a bit of momentum in jiu-jitsu in Houston. There was not a tournament that people weren't worried about me being in. And I said, all right, if I can do this at this level, then what else can I do? You know, like how hard could the striking part be? And, well, it was quite hard. I got here and, you know, fighting with guys like Markel and Jacoby Jones and geez, not even to mention Dustin Jacoby. It's unreal the ocean that striking provides for you. You know, it's just opportunity after opportunity after opportunity if you could just chain it perfect. And that got me even more excited than grappling. I've been grappling for, I think this will be going on 13 years now, you know, like wrestling and jiu-jitsu for the last 2 years, but with the wrestling in it, it's taken me quite far. But now that I've gotten into the strike, it's all I want to do, you know. It's something crazy. When I first got here, I actually sparred with Markel. That was one of the first people that I had a full out session with, and he dropped me. I cranked his ankle the wrong way, and he came back for me, and it was like he switched something on. And I wanted that, you know, and it just made me chase after it. And I was like, I want to be able to just, on a dime, switch it on, and then it's the end of the fight, you know. And so that's where I'm at with all of this, really.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I feel like and I've talked to you about this away from the camera, but I want to say it on camera too, because I believe that it does deserve the recognition. Like, your improvement from your overall game, I mean, from on the feet blending all the way down to your strength on the ground, bro, you've improved leaps and bounds over these last few months. I mean, just like each week when you're coming out there and some of those caterers, like, god damn, like, Todd's putting it together now. Like, he's stringing a combo together that's blending into his takedown entries, or then you'll catch a leg, or then a couple of times, you know, catching some real high level guys with some shit.
Yeah, I try and be creative. You know, I had this idea at one point. I was just sitting in my car, and I was like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to catch up with these guys by doing the same thing that they're doing. Like, there's just no way. If I were to throw 10,000 jabs from now until next week, Austin's probably thrown 10,000 and then 100,000 from last year and then 200,000 from the year before, you know. And so there's just no catching up. And so I was like, I got to do something different. I got to change the game. And so I said, let's just try everything.
Yeah.
and whatever lands, keep doing that.
I mean, it's not a bad approach.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, for sure.
Especially when you come into a room like this, where if you can't get creative or if you can't figure out a wrinkle, it's going to be some
You get
long
washed
days.
out.
Yeah.
You get washed out. Guys have come in and washed out. It's been quite a cycle, and I haven't even been here that long. But I've seen guys just come in and leave, and then come back, and then be like, still can't handle it, and leave. You know, and I don't understand, because it's spoon fed to you here at Factory X. I don't even know how else to say it. Like, if you just pay attention, you get a pretty much private every single time you come here with the most high level guys that you could possibly think of. You know, we see cage matches that people would pay for on Fridays just right in front of our face. You know, we could go into the cage with these guys we would pay to watch on TV. It's Alex Hernandez has been probably one of the biggest contributors to my game.
Okay.
You know, anytime that I've made a mistake, he's been on my ass about it, you know, and has not let up about that, but has not been overbearing to the point where he wants to change my game, but just hone me in, you know, like hone in some of the wildness, because I am pretty wild at times.
Definitely. So talk about that for a second. How does having a strong peer circle in general, I mean, you mentioned Alex obviously, but it's really a great culture as a whole. You know, everybody at Factory X is bought into that message, you know, in large part. How does having a culture of everybody who is, for lack of a better term, on the same page, how does that help you grow, especially being so young in your career?
When I first got here, I had pretty much nothing. It was pretty crazy the way that, you know, they say when you leap, the net will appear. And I kept telling myself that on the drive from Houston. I kept telling myself that because I had nothing set. Like, I had nowhere to live. I had no money for food. I had like half the clothes that I could, because nothing else could fit in the car.
Yeah.
You know, I was also going to be sleeping in the car, so there was no way for me to bring all my clothes, and so I had like half my clothes. And so it was just such a process when I first got here. I was like, this is ridiculous hard. And I'm wearing these shin pads that are like thinner than the shirt I'm wearing right now, and I'm getting leg kicked by these like Austin, you're getting leg kicked by, oh man.
Yeah.
And everybody just started providing me with things. Like, you know, like Clay gave me puffies because I didn't have any puffies. All I had was big gloves. And so I'm out here wrestling with big gloves on because I didn't have anything else. So Clay gave me puffies. And then Alex gave me shin pads because the ones that I had were too small, you know. And then Alex also gave me knee pads, you know. And then Coach let me borrow some elbow pads. And then Coach gave me a place at the gym to sleep in while I was getting back on my feet, because I was also still paying rent in Houston. This was an opportunity that I felt like I'm at an age I need to just leap. I have to, you know. If I don't at this point, you might as well start working and start moving up. And I don't have that much longer left. You know, I'm 24 years old, and I feel like I'm at that point where I need to peak soon, you know. And if I don't peak soon, then I'm only going to end up being a gatekeeper, you know, and just washed up. And that's the last thing that I want.
Man, I feel like, you know, you're young, you're athletic, you've got a high ceiling with things. I mean, you've got the right mindset to go along with those tools, though, too. So, you know, I mean, we talked one time, and I remember distinctly you asked, like, do you think I got a shot at this?
Yeah, I'm always wondering.
And I don't know if you remember what my response was, but it was like, as long as you keep on doing things that you're doing now by paying attention to the details and putting in the work, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Like, I really do believe that, because, like I say, you bring a very, very unique wrinkle to your division. There's not a lot of people who are as tall as you are and who have just the general athleticism that you do. Like, I think that's a special thing, and I think that you're gonna open a lot of people's eyes once you start getting to actually show what you can do in the cage.
That's one thing that I want to find out. It's not to say that I can't go my hardest on the guys here. That is absolutely not, because there are, like, Cody Brundage. I could probably put every ounce of energy that I possibly have into beating him up, and I would just end up on bottom, you know. But there is an aspect of respect. You know, I'm not going to go out here and throw spinning elbows and try and spear dudes with my forehead to take them down, on a daily at practice. I'm not going to have any practice partners. And I'm going to start hurting people. But I want to find out what I could do in the cage for sure by just letting go. Like, I haven't gotten to just let go. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I need to figure it out. Like, what am I really capable of? Like, if I cranked it as hard as I could I break it? Just stuff like that.
Speaking of which, you had a viral finish in your last jiu-jitsu tournament where, I don't know what my man was thinking. Like, he should have just gave up. He should have just tapped on that Kimura that you had.
Oh, well, see, the Kimura that I had, it's at an angle where you don't really feel it for a second. Like, I actually just did it at practice today, and I didn't realize that the way that the arm is twisted, it locks up the muscles. And so, like the nerves aren't firing as they should because you're also squeezing. And so, like, the blood flow is being restricted. Mm-hmm. And so it starts to get numb. And so by the time that the elbow is, like, in a place for it to pop, where it's, like, straight up, it's too late, And so that's a submission that I'm probably going to stay away from, for a little while. That's now something I'm going to put in my back pocket. Like, all right, my back's up against the wall, I'll pull that out. But there are so many other things I want to try and see if they also can get a break. Mm-hmm. Not just that Kimura. What about a knee bar? Like, could I finish that? Something like that.
Savage, bro, savage. But yeah, I do see that. You're bringing a level of the lower half of the body in terms of attacks, and I'm not going to speak too much into strategy because I just don't want anybody to get that.
I don't mind. I'm a leg locker. Oh, for sure. I don't mind.
Well, there you have it, people.
I'm a leg locker. I will throw kicks until you do something about it, and that's really my game. Good luck with that. There's not too many people that I know that are throwing these kind of kicks.
Well, now that you mentioned it, let's talk about the leg game a little bit. The leg lock game. I feel like the way that the phenomena or the wave that the Danaher Death Squad kind of brought about in the jiu-jitsu world really has kind of opened up the door. Like, it hasn't really flooded yet into MMA. You haven't seen a mass influx of. You've started to see more leg locks being done, or on a regular basis. Or more frequent, I should say. It's not on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. You'll have your Ariane Lipsky when she had the knee bar list last year. You had guys like Diego Fajeda with the heel hook.
It's fear of failure.
Exactly.
That's all it is. It's fear of failure. It's the other side. It's like if you were to duck your head below the ocean and you came up on a whole new surface, you'd question breathing. And that's all the leg lock game is I'm on bottom now. Traditionally, everybody knows that bottom is not a good place to be. You see a street fight, somebody's on bottom, they're losing. That's if you see an MMA fight, majority of the time, if they're on bottom, like they're taking quite some massive hits. And I think that's something that could definitely be changed. I'm not saying that I'm going to go straight to bottom, but what I'm saying is it's not something that should be feared anymore. Leg locks are deadly. They are so deadly, in fact, the jiu-jitsu community kept their lips shut about it for the longest time. Before the Danaher Death Squad, but before Dean Lister, like way back to when Eddie Bravo started bringing leg locks up onto the shoulders. That's really the only way that I can think about when the creativity started. It is when everyone decided, let's make jiu-jitsu a whole. Let's go ahead and start dropping down to the bottom. Also, when we got out of the gi, finally took those pajamas off, and people were like, let's just wrestle like we're trying to end it.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel. That's what I think no gi jiu-jitsu is. It's a whole different sport. Let's wrestle like we're trying to end it. Like let's break something. And now that people are dropping to the legs and realizing I can break the legs, why not? Have you ever fought somebody that doesn't have any legs? It should be pretty easy. Like, it shouldn't be that hard. And so I'm feeling like I can just drop to a leg, and even if I don't get the finish, you can tweak the knee enough, just like a leg kick. Just turn the ankle over and then get back up.
Yeah. Yeah, that summarizes it like perfectly in that you don't even have to finish on
You don't
a
have
leg
to
lock
finish
half
it.
the time to make it be a very significant impact throughout the rest of the fight. Because even just saying, like someone boots, kicks out off of a heel hook, but you had a decent crank on it at some point.
They're going to be wobbly the rest of the time.
Yep.
You get a good ankle lock and you go belly down, you pop it a few times, stand back up, your jab's always going to land. Just small things like that. It's not about like ending it. It's just about finishing little by little. Just seasoning. That's it.
Just seasoning.
Seasoning.
Like Devontae says, you got to cook them.
You got to cook them. You got to cook them. And what's cooking without seasoning, Like, add a little spice and it should come out good.
Definitely, man. Shit. That makes me so much more excited. That right there, folks, that's someone who has a plan. Like, you have a plan. You have visualized this, I'm sure, time and time again.
1,000 times. Haven't even seen him fight. Don't know much about him, but everything that I could possibly look up about him, I've created an image of what he would be like, personality-wise, and how that would bleed into the way that he would fight. As far back as I could find information on him, just see what I can build in my own head, and there's no way that he'll be better than what I'm imagining. It's all, he's possibly the best possible fighter in my mind right now.
Yeah. That
I'm preparing for.
Absolutely. So, Todd, one thing that I want to shift into real quick before we tie some stuff up, you have a gift that not a lot of other people have out there, and you are a musician. You write your own music, you can play multiple different instruments. Oh yeah,
music is the base. Like my movement, everything, like it's music. All of it. It's art. I like creativity. That's it. I draw. I write music, like not music as in like songs, but I write poetry, because that's like music with your hand, and I write like classical music, and all of it is the exact same. It's just familiar shapes, and I was actually just thinking about this morning. Familiar shapes is what comes out of elite movements, and that a lot of people will try to mimic elite movements without having done the training. And so I was thinking about like for example, basketball players. You can go to any basketball court and see anybody dribble the ball in between their legs, but I'm trying to imagine the first time that somebody did that. Like, how did it come about? It was just a reaction movement, and it was the most elite movement they could possibly do from training so much. They were just holding the basketball, somebody came at them, and their legs were open, so they just put it in between. It was just a reaction. But if you just do that movement without understanding what the training was behind it, it's purposeless, action.
Yeah.
And I mean, I totally forgot what your question was, but
no, it was just more so just shedding light on you having a true artistic perspective to it. Being a musician, and you really kind of you hit the answer right on the head. I mean,
everything's connected.
That was the hammer driving it right in. So you did, just to tie that up. You answered the question perfectly.
For sure.
Now I want to ask you this one last question here. Who was your biggest bodybuilding inspiration?
Oh man. As basic as it may sound, Arnold. Okay. Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, he was never like the biggest in the show. He was never, the most perfect. I mean, when I looked at his shows, I would always look at the other guys, and I'm like, he was never the most perfect, but what he had was presence.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, he could take up a stage and make everyone believe that he was a god. And I thought that was art,
Definitely.
He used everything that he had at his advantage, everything that he had, and he made everyone else look away from anything that he didn't want them to see. There were times where I've looked back at his video because I was trying to mimic his movements and get it perfect, just like he did it. And I was like, wait a minute, that looks like a bad cut right there. I don't know if he trained that quite as much as he should have. Me judging.
Right.
Like old bodybuilders, because today bodybuilding is completely different. Like with the substances that are out, it's insane. it's unnatural, the kind of bodies that are coming out, but back then it was just perfect aesthetics, you know. And so it's so easy to spot when something's just off, you know. But he never let you see it.
Right.
Man.
The illusion.
The illusion. That's what I'm trying to create with the game that I have now. It's the illusion.
Nice. I mean, anybody who has ever, you know, had an interest in bodybuilding, I feel like Arnold has to be like on your Mount Rushmore.
On your Mount Rushmore, for sure.
Plain and simple.
And if he's not, it's just because you don't want to be mainstream. And I get it, but like, you know, like.
But you gotta give respect where, you know, where respect is due. Like, bodybuilding would have never been put on the map, I feel like. You know,
if it wasn't for Arnold.
At least at that time.
Yes.
You know, to give, like, at that time, maybe somebody else would have came along down the way. But at that time, there was nobody else who had the moxie that Arnold had.
It's like the Conor McGregor.
Exactly. Just a generational guy who completely, you know, just
drug people into the sport.
Changed everything.
Yes.
Following Arnold in that boom, you know, I mean, that basically is what sparked, like, the fitness craze. You know, like, there wasn't a whole ton of, you know, like, people who had home gyms or worked out a ton or all of that prior to, like,
this is unnatural, in fact, actually. You know, there's no reason for a human to go out of their way to do physical activity. It's just no reason. It's not how your mind works. You know, it may be healthy for you to do, but primally, it's to rest as much as possible, because sometimes you had to run down an animal for miles and then miles and miles. You're not trying to do that all the time.
Yeah. But then, you know, on the flip side, we've had a massive spike in, like, people on the fitness side, but also through the same time, we've had such a shift for the negative with a lot of the health in this country. So, you know, not without going down the rabbit hole on that one, but yeah, personally,
we'll get to the technology on that one.
Oh, yeah, so much across the board. But my favorite dude in bodybuilding, because I mean, my old man, he's a bodybuilding coach. He does strength and conditioning for a living, and I don't know. I grew up a big fan of obviously Arnold, but my dude was Ronnie.
Oh,
I
Coleman,
love Ronnie, bro. Like,
the cop,
but a peanut, baby.
Yo, man, yeah, absolutely. Coleman was your average guy who wanted to be larger than life, who didn't mind being your average guy larger than life. You know, and I thought that was so cool. Was he made his paradise right where he was? That was beautiful to me. He didn't have to be this extreme celebrity. You know, he didn't have to be millionaire, billionaire, you know, have all the materialistic things, but he just wanted to be large, and he was.
Lightweight.
Yeah.
There's people to this day that probably wouldn't know any other person out there in the fitness world or the bodybuilding, but if you go down the street and you say, like, lightweight or nothing but a peanut, people are gonna know that. Or then, like, everybody want to be a bodybuilder. Don't nobody want to lift this heavy-ass weight.
Exactly.
Like, people will know those Ronnie taglines in that way. So, you know, maybe he might have been the guy post-Arnold that could have been that, you know, guy who just boomed it because he just had that, just like you said, that larger-than-life sort of personality. Like, Ronnie's personality, obviously, Ronnie was arguably the best bodybuilder of all time, like by all current standards. I mean, obviously, you know, I mean, he was definitely on a little
size,
little
aesthetics,
bit more than Arnold was. But, you know, just in terms of what he was able to bring to it, you know, his size, his aesthetics, and his strength, the way that Ronnie was able to, you know, throw 800 pounds on the bar and I'm going to go for reps. Like, just those sorts of things. Like,
and see, I don't think I ever wanted to be that big. You know, I think that's probably why Ronnie Coleman wasn't, like, such an inspiration to me. But I just wanted to be perfect.
Yeah.
You know, and I chased it. I chased it as hard as I could. And it doesn't exist, in short. It doesn't. You know, it's all perspective. That sucks once you figure it out, because you're like, fuck, I wasted all my time. But it is a journey chasing it. It's exciting. It's exciting because you think you achieve it. And then you figure out that you just didn't know that you didn't know.
Yeah.
You know? And so, like, once you realize that, like, the growth never stops.
Just Definitely, bro. You know, we've covered a lot of great topics here today.
Yeah.
Where can people follow you?
Oh, Todd DeBato. That's everything. No matter what you want to find on me, what you want to see, there's no other handle than my name. You know, I love my name. It it blends better than I do. Todd DeBato. You know? And so if you want to find me on Instagram, type that in TODDDEBATO, and you'll find me.
Where can people watch you fight?
Oh, well, if you just visit my page, I'm gonna post whatever it is that I have to post. You know, if I do something, I'll post it. But with the Sparta page, they have the whole pay-per-view thing going on, so I'm sure you can go to Sparta _S_E and find the link to go buy tickets there. You know, but I'm just letting you know, like, if you want to see something, I'm not gonna beg you to go pay for it because I'm gonna post it.
Do you have a promo code?
I believe I do. I think it's just my first name, my last name.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know a lot of times that they'll have those, and that you know helps you on your back end with like commissions and all that sort of stuff. So
Oh
I just
man,
like
want to fight. You know, I'm not even gonna lie. Like,
I get it, bro.
I hate that little logistics
I'm
part.
out with the business. It's the business, bro.
For sure. I forget about that part too much.
Yeah.
You know.
That's what you guys have me for.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
Like we're a team, bro. We're family. We got to build each other up.
We're family. You're absolutely right about that.
But so Todd, is there any message that we may not have covered, that you may not have gotten out there, that you want to give to friends, family, supporters, anybody like that?
Oh no, I'm open to questions. You know, as of right now, I know it's not going to seem like I have a lot to offer knowledge-wise, but I think soon enough, like, people will see, like, oh man, he's taking a whole different approach. You know, and so if you have any questions about like anything, I have an answer in some form or fashion. You know, it may not be the one that you want, but I definitely have one.
No, I feel you there, man. Well, I want to say thank you very much for taking the time. I really appreciate you coming on the show and just sharing with the people what a little bit more about who Todd is and what we can expect to see from you going forward out there in the cage. So thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it.
Man, honest way. I enjoyed my time.
Make sure that you check Todd out on January 30th for Sparta Sports and Entertainment. I am Jordan Kurtz with the Comments from the Peanut Gallery podcast. You can also check me out on the MMA Plug presented by DenverSportsBetting.com on Mile High Sports Radio, 7 to 8 p.m.
Check them out.
Every single Wednesday, live worldwide Mountain Time. You can also catch the recap the next day on DenverSportsBetting.com. Thank you very much for joining in, and hit that like and subscribe. We will see you next time.